All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 374 of the Restoring Rapport podcast. This is a podcast for young believers who are pursuing the goal of marriage and family and trying to get married as young as possible in a healthy way according to God's design. My name is Seth Hensley. I'm your host. I come on twice a week, every week on Thursday and Sunday to discuss not only the benefits of getting married young, but I attempt to equip and encourage you in your pursuit of that goal. And today we are going to be reviewing the next section of the third episode of Jordan Peterson's marriage series that is normally exclusively only available on the Daily Wire Plus. I subscribe so you don't have to, and I've been going through the whole thing. And so we're getting close to the end. We've probably got 2 more episodes, maybe four, depending on how quickly we're able to get through today's material. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
Analogous, I suppose, is the problem of infidelity. You make bedrock assumptions when you move into a marriage, and we're bound together in love and truth, for better or worse, till death do us part. And there's a sexual propriety element to that, which is a symbol of the commitment, a symbol of the seriousness with which this relationship is to be regarded. And when that's violated, it's a constitutional crisis. It's like the fundamental bedrock of the relationship has been destroyed. And the question then is, can you recover from that? And the answer is, it depends on your ability to negotiate. Like, there's no clear path forward from that kind of violation. Now, the alternative, which is the dissolution of the relationship, might also be too dreadful to apprehend. And maybe that's not necessary, but I would say you need something like a genuine renewal of your vows. So let's say the person who's wronged has to go and think, and here's what they have to think about. The first thing would be, is it even possible for me to forgive this person, or am I going to hang this over their head and mine for the rest of my life? That's a really serious question, because the answer to that might be, I can't forgive this. I don't know how to forgive this. That could easily be the answer. And then the question might be, can I find a way to forgive this? And that's a real genuine question too. And then the next question would be, what would have to occur hypothetically for me to forgive this? And how could we test that out? And it would be something like confession and repentance, because that's the classic pattern of redemption. And so the other person who strayed is going to have to explain why. And that's a deep explanation, right? It goes all the way to the bottom because they violated their most fundamental vow.
Man, so it sounds like he's going to get into the infidelity discussion today. And he's been talking about negotiation for a long time in this series, actually, particularly in episode 2 of his series. The whole thing was on negotiation. And I had been kind of making the point that negotiation is really only necessary insofar as you're actually still fighting for what you want instead of what is best for your union and what your partner wants, and how that's kind of antithetical to the scriptural prescription for how to have a good marriage. And that's lay down your life for your friend, submit to your spouse, love your spouse. Those are kind of the instructions. It's not like be respectful in how you diplomatically fight for what you want. It's like, no, just pick up your cross and follow Christ. Pick up your cross, lay down your life for your spouse for the joy set before you, which is, a better connection with your partner and a healthy marriage. So I think most of the time that's true. Now, the infidelity discussion, I'm not going to pretend to have some kind of massive insight there. That's a very hard situation that anybody could ever find themselves in, because like he said, it is I think he used the word bedrock, foundation, one of the foundational pieces of the marriage, one of the foundational vows has been totally just decimated. And so, the questions of whether or not you can come back from that, it's going to be very hard either way. Dr. John Deloney, a guy who my wife really likes listening to, sometimes, talks to people who are in a situation like this, and after he's sat with them in the pain of the moment for a little bit, will say something like, your marriage is over, and if you want to, rebuild it, you're going to have to start from the, ground zero. You're going to totally have to restart your marriage, because the marriage as you, no, he says it like this: the marriage as you knew it is over. And so the, you're just going to have to build from the ground up, because the ground was what was destroyed in this particular case. And so that's where you're going to have to start building from again. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I like how Dr. Peterson didn't like give a hard and fast rule to people, like you should leave your partner if they cheat, or you should not leave your partner if they cheat. And he said both roads are going to be very difficult. And I don't like it when people like make one way seem like easy, and one way like there's no easy way out there. There's no easy way out. There's only hard way out. And so that's why, one of the reasons why it's such a big deal. But yeah, I don't know. I do want to show you this little chart here real quick. Maybe this would be a good time for it. Let me present it for you on the screen here. Figure 9.3 in Brad Wilcox's enhancement for Get Married, his book, says women's marital happiness by men's providership and emotional engagement. And I imagine what this chart is going to show is how their a woman's happiness and satisfaction is proportional to how well her man is emotionally and physically providing and caring for her. And I don't know, I think, well, you can kind of get into trouble for saying any opinion on infidelity on the internet, like how to prevent it, how to handle it, how to do. You can get in trouble no matter where you fall on the issue. So I'm trying, and I know people have a very emotionally charged pasts with this topic. So I'm not trying to be like, what's the word? Talking from a high horse or something, or arrogant or anything. But you can see here the percentage of wives very happy in marriage and sexual relationship by reports of their husband's providership and attentiveness. So here, the top one is the very happy, those very happy in marriage. The bottom is those very happy with their sexual relationship. This is based on heterosexual wives ages 18 to 55. And the source is the State of Our Union survey in 2022, which he seems to have used a lot. I wonder if he had a hand in actually conducting that survey, because he's used that survey so much in this enhancement. But you can see the highest percentage that are very happy in marriage is those who gave husband the highest rating for both good provider and very attentive. And then from there below, it goes down right here. 95%. I think, yeah, this is 95% of those wives who gave their husband the highest rating for both a good providership and good attentiveness, very attentive. 95% of them are happy in their marriage. And then that drops down to, you can see here, contrast that to 46% of wives are happy if they did not give their husband the highest rating for either a good provider or very attentive. So just how you're providing and paying attention to the emotional and physical needs of your wife is very indicative of the level of happiness she's going to be experiencing in your marriage. And usually, and I'm not blaming anyone here for infidelity or anything like that, but I will say that usually infidelity does not occur. Actually, I would say infidelity never occurs in a truly happy marriage, because infidelity is kind of the result of one party or another living in an unhappy marriage and either running to an affair as a form of escapism, or running to an affair thinking that there's something better out there for them, or running to an affair out of desperation, or running to an affair out of despair, or just some kind of bad thing. Like they're not in a good marriage if they're running to another person for a marital need. So like that in and of itself kind of says one or both people in that marriage are probably not very happy because of, it could be a million different things. But one thing you can do to keep your wife happy, or your husband, I would imagine this is kind of able to be inverted to apply to husbands as well. But figure 9.3 here is measuring women's marital happiness, but I imagine it applies to men as well. And from my personal, experience, if my wife is, I guess the good provider thing is a little bit more geared towards the wife, but if my wife is very attentive to me, that does directly affect my happiness in marriage, and she always is, and that's why we're in a very happy marriage. One of the reasons. But you can see here, 95% of women who gave their husband the highest rating for both good provider and very attentive are happy. 95% of those women are happy. 46% of women who did not give their husband the highest rating for either good provider or very attentive in the survey are happy. So like under half of the women who gave their husband those low scores are happy. So that's that's like almost double again. Anytime you see a statistical, gap that's this huge, like there's definitely something there that you want to make sure you're doing here. Like to have 95% of women happy in their marriages if their husband are good, if they think their husbands are good providers and very attentive, compared to 46%, like a 50% drop. That's crazy. You've got to, in other words, it's very important for women to feel that their husband is both very attentive and a good provider. And then look down here in this, the wives that reported either very happy, the wives that reported very happy with their sexual relationship as well. Those who, it's the same thing. 87% of the wives who gave their husband a high rating for both a good provider and very attentive are very happy with their sexual relationship. 35% of those who did not give their husband a high rating for either good provider or very attentive are happy with their sexual relationship. So again, another 50% drop. It's almost like for the women, and I'm talking to the guys here because, a huge percentage of this show's listeners are guys, the majority. And so you got to be able to take care of your wife here. And I know that that can be hard in a lot of ways, but it is your job, I think, to love your spouse as Christ loved the church. Give yourself up for her. Try to make sure she's happy and content and has everything she needs. And as you can see, like 87% of the wives who believe that their husband is a good provider and very attentive are happy with their sexual relationship. Very happy, actually. Very happy with their sexual relationship. And then only 35% of them are very happy with their sexual relationship if they gave their husband a low score in the attentiveness and providership department. So just provide for your wife. Make sure you're talking to her, engaging with her, looking at her, not, either being totally engrossed with your phone or other demands from work, or just make sure that you have time together to show her attention and to provide for her whatever she needs. You just need to do. And those two things are pretty simple, really. I mean, they can be difficult to do sometimes, but when you do them, you can see what a drastic impact that has on both her happiness in marriage and her sexual satisfaction. So definitely take that into consideration. As we consider here some of the causes of infidelity. And again, no blame to anyone, not blaming anybody for infidelity. Like if you, I'm not saying that, you didn't take good care of your partner and so they went and they cheated on you. And it's like, I'm not going down that road. I'm not blaming here. There's no condemnation for those who are in Jesus. I'm just saying, take care of your wife because there are rewards for that. And yeah, that's good. That's what I wanted to say.
So they've messed everything up. And so the confession has to be something like, well, how did it come about that you're so screwed up that you messed everything up? And there's a lot of confessing that has to go along with that. And my suspicions are, if the person who violated the vow confessed deeply enough, the other person would then understand, and out of that understanding would come forgiveness. But the confession would have to be proportionate in depth to the depth of the insult. And that really means all the way down to the bloody bottom. And then the other person who's been transgressed against also has to go away and think, well, what stupid things did I do to make it more likely that I'd be cheated on? Is there ever 100% a perpetrator and 100% a victim? Is there ever someone who's 100% tyrant and someone who's 100% innocent? Well, maybe you see that in the figure of Christ, but if you're not Christ, it probably doesn't apply to you. So if you're in trouble, probably you did something to increase the probability that you're in that kind of trouble. And so, maybe every time your partner was interested in some kind of sexual escapade, you put up 5 barriers. this is something husbands do to their wives. Let's say that you've married some woman that is pretty attractive and you can't figure out for the life of you why the hell she picked you. So you got fortunate enough, so you chose above your market value. And so you have this attractive wife. And now, because you're insecure about your own utility, and maybe for good reasons, you're jealous. And so then you're going to go out on a date for dinner, and she has bought a new dress, and she puts it on, and she looks pretty damn sharp. And you notice that it annoys you because you think other people will find her attractive. And so you say, how much did you spend on that? And she deflates. And that's good for you because you've punished her for her stupidity in choosing you. And you've let her know in no uncertain terms that she's not to be attractive to other men because they might steal her. And you do that to her like 30 times and she won't dress up anymore, and she'll gain 20 pounds just to spite you, which is exactly what you bloody deserve. And she'll turn into a housemaid, and then you can whine to all your friends about how the woman you married is nowhere near you anymore, and you'll fail to observe that that was 100% your doing.
And these examples, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but like in this series, these examples he's given are so specific, and it's almost like I'm wondering if he's like seen this, like, because happen in either his clinical experience or personal life. Like, I wonder if he's had people come into his office with that exact problem that he presented to you right there, because that was really specific. Like, if I'm trying to come up with a story like that to illustrate the point I'm making, I usually don't have that exact detail down. Like, I'm thinking either, and obviously he's not breaking, client confidentiality or whatever by telling this because he gave no names, but I definitely think that is a story that somebody's come into his office with, and he's been, just shocked by the devastation that has caused. That's just a little note that I wanted to point out, because he's done that several times. He's given like an example with shocking specificity, and it's either like, I see kind of three options to that. Like, he's using an example that has really happened to him in his own marriage, or he's using an example that he's directly seen in someone else's marriage via his counseling, or he's directly seen what he's saying in the marriage of a close friend or family member. That's really all I can think of. The only reasons I can think that he would have that exact specific, specificity down, but I don't know.
And so then when she goes off and has an affair, you can sit on your bed and you can think, oh yeah, remember when she bought that dress and I insulted her about the money? When what I should have said is, oh my God, you look so sharp. More of that. More of that. Better dresses. More attractiveness. It's like, you want to hurt someone. Here's how to do it. You wait and you watch, and you wait till they come out of their shell a bit and do something good. Just as a little experiment. And that shames you because now they're doing something good and you're not. So then, as soon as you see that emerge, you whack it. And you do that. You can train a dog to starve itself to death by hitting it on the nose with a newspaper when it approaches its food bowl. If you do that 20 times, the dog will starve to death.
Dang.
Nietzsche said we're best punished for our virtues. It's like, man, you can do that in a marriage, especially if you're jealous and envious, especially of the good part of your partner. You're playing Cain to their Abel. They put themselves out, they do something spectacular, they move ahead in a way that puts you in a dim light comparatively, and you stab them. And you don't think you do that. It's like, you better do some more thinking, because the chances that you do that are pretty much 100%.
Sheesh.
And so when you're in the dismal situation that your partner has cheated on you in thought or deed, then you might ask yourself, yeah, well, and just what did I do to deserve this? And so then the partner who cheated can come and say, well, this is the depth of idiocy that characterizes.
And I do want to say there too that I think it's important to say, like, this is not blaming. I agree with what he's saying, but I also think it's important to say, like, you need to make sure you're not blaming yourself. Well, what's the word? Yeah, I do think like, the transgressor here is the one who cheated. There's no excusing that. Okay, like, all that he said is true and all, but like, the one who made what I mean is, like, I'm not gonna, like he said at the beginning, I think it's good not to blame exclusively one party or the other. My uncle one time said to me that usually when people get a divorce, it's not one person's fault. It's usually there's some, if we're going to play the blame game, there's some blame on both sides. So just the humility of acknowledging that, yes, but like also there's clearly an infraction on the part of the transgressor here, because they've made a vow to be faithful to you forever and they were not. So I just wanted to throw that in there to make sure that everybody did not think that he or I was saying that, it's your fault if you've been cheated on because you didn't do whatever A, B, or C. That's definitely not what I'm saying. And I don't think that's what he's saying either. I just want to clarify. Because the blame game can do nothing but damage if it's not introspective, I guess, or what's the word? Like, you need to always be asking yourself, like, what could I have done better? Or maybe a way that I approached this situation wasn't right, and all that. And that's productive, that's constructive. But when you're just, what's the word? Blaming yourself and then allowing, either the fear of that happening again or the paralysis that comes from thinking it was your fault to rule the rest of your life, then it's like, okay, blame's no longer helping you make better decisions in the future. It's now hurting you from making any decisions at all, and just heaping guilt on your head and immobilizing you and getting you kind of stuck down. So just be aware of that and don't allow that to happen.
It's my hell-possessed mind, and this is why I cheated, and I'm pretty bloody, appallingly pathetic in 50 different ways. And the person who's cheated on might be able to say, yeah, well, that sucks, and I hope you don't do it again, but I can kind of understand why it happened. And maybe you can swear not to do it again, and here's some things I might have done along the way to make you even more stupid than you might already be, and can we see our way forward? And then you have a discussion. Well, we have kids, we have a house, we have a life. Is there good in this? Can it be salvaged? Can we recommit? Maybe you have to get married again. Who the hell knows what ceremony of expiation might be necessary, but none is hardly the answer. And then you have to swear by everything that's holy that you don't commit the same bloody error, or at least maybe that if you're tempted to stray, maybe you'll say something about it this time. And then maybe you can thread that needle and move forward. It's pretty rough in the case of infidelity, but that happens. And I don't know if you want to burn the whole bloody thing.
And I know exactly what he's saying here, because it's like for every anecdotal situation or evidence that you can throw out where, the marriage has been irrecoverable because of infidelity, you could also throw out an example of a time where a marriage has now pulled through and was better than it was prior to the infidelity. So it's like, I don't know that you can't just cut and dry this. I don't think, like, you can't just say, your marriage is never salvageable. I don't think you can ever say that, because, here people are with, terrible situations they've been through, infidelity and everything, adultery, and they've pulled through together, and now they have a great marriage. And it was a terrible road, but they did it. And so it's like, well, if that happens for some people, you can't say that it'll never happen. And so, yeah, those were my thoughts on that. I don't know. This topic is really hard, because this is just, man, this issue just really destroys lives and stuff. Yeah.
To the ground on the basis of that error, cataclysmic as though it might be, because you're stepping out of one hell into another. And that's something we could talk about in relationship to divorce. It's pretty damn hard to get divorced once you have kids.
Yeah, true.
Because you're stuck with that person for the rest of your life. And so are your kids.
True.
And so you're still going to have to negotiate with them. And then you get divorced. Well, you still have a relationship with the person you're getting divorced from, except now it's not you and him or you and her. It's you and him or her and some social workers and a bunch of lawyers and some judges. And if you think they're going to make your life any easier than the marriage was, you haven't been through a difficult custody battle. And I would say to all of those of you who don't know this yet, that a difficult custody battle is probably equivalent to a near fatal bout of cancer. It is not good. And so you enter into divorce at your peril. And maybe you're smart enough to negotiate it out peacefully, but you couldn't do it when you were married, and hypothetically you loved each other, so what
Dang.
makes you think you're going to be able to do it now that you're getting divorced? Now, some people manage it and negotiate. It's rare, but it happens, and thank God, and more power to them. Sometimes you have to make a dramatic transformation and move on, but it's not optimal and it's not ideal. And you hear these ideas, marriage should be more difficult and divorce easier. It's like, no, that's exactly backwards. It's an anti-truth.
Yep. True.
Especially once you have kids. I found the love of my life.
In fact, let's look. I want to show you guys the exact, measure of this here, because the people who believe that divorce should be easier, are actually more likely to experience infidelity. And that we talked about this in a couple episodes ago, but it's truly shocking because, let's see here. I'm going to just scroll down through here and find it. It's the big chart with the lots of measurements on it. It's basically comparing who's more likely to, here it is, the maybe I do mentality. I'm going to share it for you guys right here. It's from chapter 8 of Brad Wilcox's book. And the chart that I'm using right here is from the enhancement that he uses at the end. But basically, you can see right down here people's attitude toward divorce. Those who believe that divorce should be easier, 17% of them are reporting infidelity, okay, which is higher than almost any other number here, almost any other category here. 17% is pretty high. For contrast, 7% is the lowest. Asian Americans have the lowest percentage of reported infidelity, and the next lowest would be like the people who believe that extramarital sex is always wrong. Those people are not very likely to cheat. And so the highest predictor of whether or not a marriage is experiencing infidelity is if the people involved in that marriage believe that it is sometimes wrong or not wrong to cheat, to commit infidelity, I'm sorry, it's not even that bad. It's not even that bad. It's really when the people involved in the marriage sometimes think that it is sometimes wrong or not wrong to have premarital sex, or extramarital sex is the correct word. I got to be really careful here because the words matter. Those prefixes are important. Extramarital sex. If people believe that in the marriage believe that it is sometimes wrong or not wrong, like half of them are in a situation of infidelity. Half of them, literally 43%. So 17% is still high, but it's not like the highest, but it's also way, 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 way higher than the lowest, which is again 7 and 9%. So, again, people who believe that divorce should be easier, they're much more likely to find themselves in a situation of infidelity. So don't believe that divorce should be easier. That's not the answer according to the data or, in the words of this counselor, his experience, and I agree with it too. So yeah, making divorce easier is not the answer.
And I'm going to live happily ever after. Okay, first of all, who cares about you? Why is this about you? I don't understand why this is about you. Maybe it's about your wife or your husband. I want to find the person right for me. How do I find the person right for me? I can imagine hardly a more narcissistic statement than that.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I transform myself into the ideally desirable partner? That's a way better question.
That's much better.
And then on the marriage front, it's like, well, I want to be happy. I want to have the person that's right for me. It's not about you. It's about your partner. Now, it's also about you insofar as that's necessary for the relationship to be optimized. It's about your partner. You try to serve them. I try to say yes to my wife every time I can say yes when she asks something. We have an agreement. It's like,
good.
If I can say yes to you, I will. If you can say yes to me, do. Because then we both get what we need and want.
Yep.
And I'm assuming you're not going to ask me things.
And that's like in opposition, seemingly, to his negotiation episode where he talked about the skills of how to negotiate. I guess it's not, but he just spent a lot of time in episode 2 talking about negotiation skills and how you can basically fight for what you want against your partner in a respectful and diplomatic way. And it's like, really, that's not even necessary if you're trying to say yes to her every single time she asks for something and she's doing the same for you. It's almost like you're watching out for each other instead of watching out for your own neck, which I think is a lot less narcissistic and less selfish and more other-centered, self-giving love, agape love, like Scripture talks about. I'm going to see if I can pull up a definition of the word the agape love that Scripture talks about while he talks here, but it seems much better to
They're
me.
inappropriate or unworthy, and we extend that courtesy to each other, and then we can have what we want. But once you have kids, it's not about you or your partner. It's about the kids. And so people say, well, we stayed together for the sake of the kids, and it's sort of a defeat. And yeah, that's not optimal, but there's some nobility in that.
Before he gets to going down the road of staying in your marriage for the sake of your children, let's look at the word agape here. It just means love. It is a feminine noun. It's pronounced agape, and it is in the NASB. Actually, let's look at the word. No. It means love, i.e. affection or benevolence. Specially plural, a love feast. It means charity or love. It means properly love, which centers in moral preference. Properly love, which centers in moral preference. Very interesting. These are some examples of when it was used. Matthew 12 or 24:12. Most people's love will grow cold. Luke 11:42. Justice and the love of God. So this love is matched to God. This is the kind of love that God has. Justice and the love of God too is put together. They're very interesting. John 5:42. He says in that verse, it says that you do not have the love of God. So again, that love is used to describe the kind of love God has. If you have love for one another, John 13:35. I believe that verse is, all men will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. If you have love for one another. If you have agape for one another. Let's go down through here. Love, goodwill is another definition. In the Thayer's Greek lexicon, let's see if we can. A purely biblical and ecclesiastical word. So this is agape, unless I'm, misrepresenting what I'm reading here, is a purely biblical and ecclesiastical word. Secular art authors from Aristotle, Plutarch, and the Septuagint, maybe, I think is what that means for this word right here. Song of Solomon, let's see, it's noticeable that this word first makes its appearance in a current term in the Song of Solomon. Certainly no undesigned evidence respecting the idea, which the Alexandrian, 70th translators had of the love in the song. A lot of information here. It means affection, goodwill, love, benevolence. Benevolence has been used twice by two different lexicons or concordances, and I really like that word. It says, of the love of men to men, especially of the love of Christians towards Christians, which is enjoined and prompted by their religion, whether the love be viewed as the soul or as expressed. Of the love of men towards God, of the love of God towards men. So this is a very high love here, okay? Very, very high love. They've still got verses going down the side where it's been used. 1 Corinthians, Romans, several chapters of Romans. Looks like Paul talks about it a ton. John, tons of passages in John. So Matthew, Luke, a lot of the Gospels, a lot of Paul is when this word is used. And I like how it's talking about affection or benevolence. Moral preference was another way that it was used. Loving somebody and putting them first. Preference was talked about several times. So this is a very, very good way to love your partner, I think.
You have the damn kids. You already made the decision. It's not about you anymore. I say that. You have to understand. I say all that. Many of my family members have been divorced. I understand the difficulty of attaining that stellar ideal.
Yeah.
And I understand the necessity of a reservoir of mercy around the ideal. But by the same token, the ideal should not be sacrificed. And the notion that heterosexual, stable monogamy is the ideal, it's like, yep, that's the ideal. And so it's a sacrifice that, if done properly, is
which is reflected in the data too.
worthwhile.
He's not just making a claim there, though. That's measurable, particularly for children. Children who are raised in two-parent married homes with a present mother and a present father, biological mother and father, are way more likely to experience a better life than those who are not as fortunate. Namely, in the areas of having a better time in school, becoming successful, and avoiding roads of addiction, and incarceration. And so that's a measurable claim that you can make. You can actually, it's not an opinion claim that, let me be very careful here. It's not an opinion claim that monogamous marriage is the best soil from which you can grow children. That is a measurable claim. And a lot of people act like that's a debate or what's the word? There's an argument to be made there. And it's like the numbers are very, very clear. Any other kind of family, it does not produce the favorable results, particularly for children, but really for everyone when it comes to family stability. There's nothing that matches marriage, monogamy as the number one way you can have a family and raise children from that. So I just wanted you guys to know that's a measurable claim, not an opinion claim.
It gives you your life. I've had a stellar career, I would say. But I would say that even though I've had a stellar career, and I've known many people who have had stellar careers, it's by no means obvious to me that any of that has been more important or even of equivalent significance to the relationships I've had with my wife and my children.
Absolutely. I'm glad that he said that. And most people don't have careers that are anywhere near as good as Jordan Peterson's. And so, yeah, we'll talk about that in the next episode. I'm going to close it off here, that he's kind of seeming to move away from the infidelity discussion and move into the discussion of priorities and what actually should matter more to you in your life. Really, really kind of a hard episode this time because it was discussing very hard issues, but I think it was important to do, and it was necessary to do because that's part of his series, and we're reviewing his whole series. And so, if you want to hear the next part of his series and probably the final part, come back for the next couple episodes, and that will do it. In fact, what I've just recorded today will be 2 episodes. And then I'll finish his whole series in the next recording I do, and I'll break that into 2 episodes as well. So it looks like we have 4 episodes, and then that'll wrap this up. It'll have been an awesome little journey with you guys. I hope you've enjoyed Dr. Peterson's work. We'll be getting back into a bunch of variety more that we had done before. And so thank you guys for listening today. Let me know what your thoughts were on this through the YouTube comments or private messaging the show on Instagram and Facebook. Would love to hear your thoughts there. It would make us feel super connected to you guys as audience members, and it would make the podcasting system 2-way. You can also follow the show on Instagram and Facebook if you're interested in the content we post. Give us a 5-star review wherever you listen. Thank you guys so much for listening today, and I will talk to you all next time.